Serious. Dark web users, was there ever a point in your use that you felt you were genuinely in danger? What happened? One time I got twice the amount of drugs that I actually ordered, was paranoid for about 2 hours, and then I just got really high and it was fine. Once a friend ordered a sample pack of 10 pills from a new vendor and got shipped 1,000 pills. Everyone who ordered got this surprise. This led to friend's devastating addiction to Xanax, which led to black tar and M, which led to a rock bottom that you only read about. He's been clean and off the dark web for 4 years now, though. I once bought a bit of weed and I received a blackmail letter threatening me with awful things, like sending CP and calling the police if I didn't send 1 Bitcoin, about $1,000 at the time. I was scared crapless, but nothing ever happened. Always check the reviews before buying anything. Dang boy, should have invested in Bitcoin. A friend of mine used to use Silk Road on the darknet when Bitcoin was $10 a pop. He placed at least 100 orders through it and never had any issues. It's a shame he didn't keep all the Bitcoin he bought because he would have been a millionaire now. I'll never forget when Bitcoin jumped from about 13 to about 150 over a few months. Well, if anything is gonna date this thread, it might just be all the talking about how hot Bitcoin is right now. Heck, me just saying this might date this video. I've used the dark web once or twice. Scariest thing was when my screen went black for a few moments and turned back on. Wasn't anything big, just my display cable freaking up, but it gave me the creeps. As for dark or disturbing crap, I've only found a list of random addresses. The dark web really has a lot of stigma associated with it. For the most part, it's just people curious about the dark web or people trying to scam you or sell you drugs. You have to do a lot of looking to find the really fricked up stuff. You're more likely to find dark web type crap on here or YouTube than the actual dark web. In college, some friends and I ordered a 100 sheet of acid using Bitcoin to our college P.O. boxes. We got pretty terrified when it didn't arrive when it should have. We thought it was found by USPS, our own mail service, or the DEA. We were paranoid. Turns out they just shipped it later than they said. We got our 100 tabs, but that was a very stressful week and a half for all of us. I might have been one of those friends, haha. I feel like this has happened to quite a few people. I was trying to buy those super cool laser pointers and I got a random message saying I know where you live. I noped out of that site straight away. Not drugs, not a fake passport, a cool looking laser pointer. Respect. Is that not something you can buy on the normal web? I feel like laser pointers, even the really powerful ones, aren't that hard to get your hands on. You may have gone a little overboard. I accidentally stumbled upon some CP once, noped out pretty fast, but was still worried for weeks the FBI would come after me. The worst thing is, you can stumble across that crap on regular adult sites too. I stumbled across some pics once on one of the more well-known sites, and there was no freaking visible option to report it. I don't think I've ever been so disgusted in my entire life. Came across a Chan-style site. Every post was about trains. Wouldn't say I felt in danger, but I felt so out of the loop that I was missing something that I just got off. I had a buddy who used to order weed. The distributor got busted and the postal service let him know there was a suspicious package for him. He could either pick it up or it would be destroyed. I own a fairly rare car that had a rare error code. I looked it up on Google and there was only one person on the car maker's forum that had the same error. And this guy took months and months going back and forth between car shops and the forum thread to try to get the issue fixed. Everyone on the forum was pitching in to try to help him. So I kept going through this long forum thread to try to figure out if he ever fixed it. And suddenly, there's no more replies from the guy. Everyone was scratching their heads for a while. We thought he had maybe gotten the issue fixed and didn't bother to update us on it. Then one day, a news article popped up about a really rich guy who died in a Thai jail cell. And then we connected the two stories and they matched up. The same make and model of the car in the news article matched up with his car. And they were both claiming to be in Thailand at the time. So what happened was that the same guy who was still talking on the forums got raided by the Thai police around the same time he stopped replying to the forum. Turns out that he was running one of the biggest dark web marketplaces where drugs were being sold and exchanged. It had something like $1 million in revenue per day, and he was hiding out in Thailand while living in luxury. They found him dead in his jail cell a few days later. They claimed he died of self-termination. I suppose you're talking about Kazez, founder of Alphabet. The dude was stupid enough to use his real email ID, the one he was using for LinkedIn and all legal businesses, taxes, etc., to send welcome messages to people who signed up on the website. I feel like not using your real name and email is like Rule 1 for the dark web, assuming there are rules. I admittedly am too big of a chicken to ever dare step foot onto the dark web, let alone do emails with it. How old am I? Everything feels government-owned. I used to frequent drug sites. They would go down for weeks at a time, then pop up again, have weird prices. Sellers were different. It made the dark web feel like a labyrinth more than a ruleless wasteland. I don't know if it was the dark web, but accidentally came across a website that was basically just P-Hub, but for gore. I saw a couple seconds of a man with his hands already chopped off, getting his face peeled off by some sort of cartel and noped the frick out. I had to take a break from the internet for a couple of days. Dude, I've seen that video, fricked me up for a while. Those screams got me bad. I was a casual orderer of the dark web for a while and got pretty big into it and started buying slightly bulky packages of drugs. If you knew the markets for a while, then you would know one called Alphabet that was the best of the best. The Amazon of drugs and fraud would be its best description. However, it went down mysteriously one day and everyone assumed the owners just scammed everyone for their Bitcoin. Partially true. But in the background, it was actually seized by the DEA. Everyone flocked to a new site called Hansa, which had some sketchy design features, but it was the next best alternative. Turns out the Dutch police took over the site, and with cooperation of multiple governments, ran a drug distribution onion site with over $1 million of transactions for around a month. They were gathering information for unsuspecting users, including me, who bought with faulty security practices. Now this is where I started freaking out, imagining trafficking drugs through the mail and the Attorney General at the time, Jeff Sessions, making a speech live on TV that he was going to crack down and explicitly explains how fricked everyone on Hansa was, because they have been gathering data for over a month. And in a big dong energy move, closes the sites and puts up a banner in its place saying everyone who has purchased will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law during his live speech. I was crapping myself for a month as many arrests did occur, but luckily, I guess I wasn't important enough and nothing happened to me. See, I read stories like this and I am frankly glad that I've always been too big of a scaredy cat to look on the dark web. Something like this would haunt me. I would freak out big time. Also, I like my substances legal and locally sourced. Oh God, that sounded way less suburban in my head. My friends and I were once ordering some green off the web. On the way, we saw a dude selling cyanide. Don't ask me how I got it, don't tell me what you'll use it for. Violation of either condition will void the sale. Okay, I mean honestly, that's like super easy to get in comparison to a lot of things. I'm pretty sure I could find some regular websites online that would send it to me if I claimed to be a biotech lab or the likes. Be safe, boys and girls. Don't give out your information or communicate with others. And if you plan on purchasing anything, use a secure Linux OS like Tails. Use private keys. Connect to a public Wi-Fi spot, not your house. Encrypt all messages. Use multi-signature markets so your chances of losing your Bitcoin lessens. Escrow preferably. Never send your Bitcoins from a wallet attached to you directly to the seller. Tumble your coins first. And when the package arrives, don't open it for a few days. A friend of mine gave me all this info and told me I should help you guys out. I don't know what half of what I just read means. I feel so old. Every time, remember that the person you just bought drugs from knows 1. Your address, 2. That you have drugs in your house, 3. There's probably evidence of dark web use in your finances, computer, or trash. They can rat you out with impunity just because they're feeling malevolent. They also could just get caught and be careless with destroying ex-customer information, so it hangs over my head to this day. Not the modern dark web, but back in the days of Usenet, I posted some harsh criticism in alt-religion Scientology. Yes, that was a typo for Scientology, but I'm leaving it for context of a bunch of posts. The online threats were funny, but when I started getting death threats by mail, I backed the frick off. I posted a bunch of criticism of the COS and the Usenet group alt-religion Scientology. This was in the late 1900s and well before most modern forums and content aggregators existed. Fark was the big one and Dig was just starting to get popular. I was in high school for non-Americans, grade 9 through 12. I was in high school and was using my home computer as an FTP server for a Juarez group on IRC because I convinced my dad to sign up for a 90-day free trial of this new thing called broadband. I had 3 megabits per second download and 1.5 megabits per second up. Of course, we never canceled it. They figured out who I was by using a cute FTP vulnerability to get root directory access to my PC. The death threats were bad enough, but what really sticks with me is the malice of deleting my family photos, including the last picture of us with my dad while he was alive. I was the typical invincible-feeling young adult, and I was more concerned about worrying my mom than I was about my own safety. This was long before doxing was a thing, and online threats going from email to handwritten letters was terrifying, but as a high school kid, I never would have admitted it. Nobody asked, but if I was confronted in person, I would have fought back. 18 years later, if they really held a grudge and threatened me again with the same malice expressed in those letters I got, I would open the letter with a gun in hand, and if they tried to get in, I would assume that they were intending to kill me and shoot first. This is a serious post, so as funny as it would be to accept the previous statement with the autocomplete error crap first, I fixed it. Yeah, Scientology is a dangerous type of cult, and unless you are prepared to go full Inquisition and burn them all at the stake, it is better to stay far away. I have no opinions and nothing to add to this. That sounds really scary, and I hope that person is sleeping a little more soundly today. Once again, nothing to say about any awful cult-like organizations that should be shut down here. No siree Bob. There's hitmen, human trafficking, and snuff films and such, but a vast majority of these sites are scams asking you to send them Bitcoin. A small portion of users on the dark web would be there for this sort of stuff. However, buying drugs online is quite popular and widespread. Single vendors can have $500,000 plus in lifetime sales. It's quite safe to use. You use PGP to encrypt your address so only the seller of the drugs has access to your private info. If your package is seized, LE have no proof you ordered it unless they seize your computer and you have that information stored on it. You can use tail/USB to avoid this. Even if your packages get seized, you'll often get a love letter saying what they seized and there is no follow-up after that. You say this, and yet we have other stories that don't fully agree. I am sure you feel safe, but there are always new ways to get screwed being thought up. Don't frequent it a lot, but once I accidentally left my browser in full screen and a stranger in a chat room asked me if my curved monitor was nice. Freaked me out a bit. I was once in an anonymous chat room with a made-up name and all that. A guy DM'd me, asked what it's like to live in the city I did. I noped the frick out of there. Webcam turned itself on once. That was scary. I immediately unplugged it, and my network cable ran 3 complete scans of my system for malware and viruses, found nothing. Hasn't happened since. A bit of electrical tape over the camera pinhole works wonders. I found a chat room advertised as true free speech platform, all political opinions welcome to discussion. I thought I could go there to debate with Nazis who are willing to say whatever they want without repercussion. It was really just a place to post CP. Nothing but CP. Every user was sending links to 3 or 4 pictures at a time or commenting on pictures the rest of them sent. There were dozens of users. I disconnected my laptop from the internet and deleted my Tor browser. This breaks my frickin' heart. I've never personally felt I was in actual danger, so to speak, since I take proper precautions, but early on I did accidentally come across a site/forum while exploring that was filled with snuff photos of women people had assaulted and then knocked out or killed. Shut down my browser pretty quick after that, but felt uneasy for a long time after. I actually learned how to access the dark web by listening to NPR. They had a segment where an author who was writing a book about it basically gave step-by-step instructions on how to do it. I did everything he said, and by golly, it worked. Truthfully, it was pretty underwhelming, mostly just drugs and counterfeit items, passport money, etc. I did find some weapons with the serial numbers scratched off, pistols and shotguns, but nothing that would start World War III. I also saw a couple ads for hitmen, but they seemed pretty hokey and were most likely undercover cops. I never felt in danger, but I have never gone back because there's nothing I really want from there. No government agents have kicked down my door either. The scariest moment for me was when I stumbled upon a creepy ARG and thought it was something much more sinister until I found out it was just an ARG. The dark web isn't really that scary. It has been romanticized and exaggerated by creepypastas, TV shows, and etc. I know stuff like the Red Room and CP exist on the dark web, it's just that it's not that common. Most are scams or require a membership. The common user won't find much, but you will find something really off-putting if you dig enough. Yeah, but the people who just stumble across stuff like CP, I feel like my chances are pretty much zero here on the good old normal web, whereas on the dark web, even that person going to a chat forum found himself confronting it. Not a worthwhile chance to take, especially when it just has nothing to offer a big old dork like me. You don't just stumble onto the scary parts of the dark web. You have to be looking for something sinister if you happen to come across one of the sites. Even then, getting access to said site isn't easy, as most of them are invite-based. Most of it is just the normal internet with questionable forums, think 4chan but slightly worse, and petty drugs. It's very hard to reach the criminal parts of the dark web unless you have very specific URLs, and even then, the host has the option to deny you access. However, once you're in, it can become a slippery slope. I'm willing to bet 99% of the sites you just stumble across while browsing the dark web that talk about scary things such as hiring hitmen, money laundering, hacking, whatever, are just there for shock value. There are several such sites on the first page of Onion Link's lists that have been up for years. If they were real, law enforcement surely would have been able to track them down by now. The idea that the dark web is an extremely shocking and dangerous place is largely inaccurate. It's mostly just weird libertarian blogs and very sterile Amazon-type websites for drugs, complete with reviews of different vendors. I remember my friend showing me where he bought his drugs online and seeing how well-kept and formal it was. Like you said, it really was just an Amazon-type website for drugs with friendly and thorough reviews. Even saw in red at the top something along the lines of, "Website name moderators will never ask for your password." I was pleasantly surprised, to say the least, haha. So I'd ordered many times on the dark web, but one day I decided to place a rather large order of ecstasy pills from Europe to the USA. I had a terrible feeling in my gut after the order was placed and actually had some serious food poisoning or something that night. LOL. Cut to weeks later, I ended up getting arrested for the pills and enter in the worst time of my life. We get these stories where people are like, "It's fine," and then this guy goes to jail, and I know what you'll say. Well, he probably didn't take the proper precautions, but if you think someone like me would be smart enough to figure out the precautions to take, you have wildly overestimated what I'm capable of. Not really a dark web user, but I got doxed by a neo-Nazi group on the dark web and ended up having to use the dark web to find the website that had my information. Department of Homeland Security and the FBI showed up on my doorstep because they were threatening to send me letter bombs and send people to abduct and army. It was scary crap. They all fell off the face of the earth recently, so I'm just hoping the feds got to them. I hope everyone who saw this took this as a reminder not to frick with people and mind yourself online. Scary world out there, man. Scary crap. They all fell off the face of the earth recently. They found a new person to torment. The only real difference between the internet you and I are using right now and the dark web is that you need special software or configurations to access it. You have plenty of opportunities of finding bad crap on the regular web. With that in mind, I'd say that the regular web is more dangerous since it lulls you into a sense of security. I mean, most people these days have a significant amount of their personal information on there. The dark web, you're likely going to have a sense to be more anonymous. Personally, I just used it for playing a WoW private server back in the day since the host didn't want to get a C&D from Blizzard. The ClearNet is totally more dangerous. Most people don't use Tor to browse it, so they're missing out on an incredibly powerful protection tool. Not dark web, but I used to work for a disabled guy. He's been pretty badly disabled for 20 years and spent most of his time gaming and watching films. He was there early on when torrenting/file sharing started. He even said that he'd topped some lists of the most prolific downloaders worldwide in the early days. Could be bragging, I don't know. He told me he'd only ever had any issues once. He downloaded a film for his kids, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. He was in the habit of checking every film before he let his kids watch, but didn't this time, just hit play. He looked up at the screen after a minute or so to see a Snow White-themed CP video playing. One woman, 7 kids, etc. He didn't go into details or say how much the kids saw, just that he freaked out, exited the file, and then went to the bathroom to throw up. Religious Silk Road and CGMC user here. I used to get the stuff delivered to my dorm, but the package didn't come directly to my room. I had to go pick it up from my dorm building office. For my 3rd or 4th order from Silk Road, I got an email saying that a package had arrived from me, but when I went to pick it up, I was told by an RA that my package was in the DOR's office. I was freaked out. I also, for some reason, was getting a lot of spam calls, which added to my anxiety. I was scared crapless. I didn't go to pick it up for like 4 days and kept getting emails from the DOR to come pick it up. I didn't go because I thought it was a setup. But after a couple days, I said frick it because I had paid a lot of Bitcoin for that order, so I went to pick it up. It was literally nothing. The people holding on to my order couldn't have been more nicer. They couldn't have given me a reason why that package was delivered there and not to my dorm, so I just kept ordering more, LOL. The package was usually delivered by USPS Priority, which ran by the federal government, and I went to a state university, so technically the federal government transported illegal goods to the state government for me, LMAO. But why? Why take a chance like that? I feel like I would always be just a huge bundle of anxiety over that kind of stuff. I don't do hard drugs, so I guess maybe I just don't get it. Doesn't seem worth it to me. I'm not like straight edge. I like a drink, and since THC products became legal, I enjoy them plenty, but I'm fully good with just that, thanks. God, this thread is making me feel boring for just being a stoner. No, but a woman in my hometown hired a hitman on the dark web to kill my neighbor. Thankfully, she was arrested, and it was prevented. Someone who isn't me was on a drug marketplace once where H, crack C, sometimes PCP are listed, but if you're experienced, you don't even bat an eye. What that person did see once were pills pressed from the residue powders that ostensibly covered the press. These included mixtures of M, fentanyl, Xanax, Molly, amphetamines, GHB. Crap is scary because you have no idea what exact ratios the mixture will be composed of, and with heavy-hitting, high-OD potential drugs like fentanyl, everyone wouldn't be surprised if that particular listing led to multiple overdoses. This is the craziest crap in here because it sounds real, just something someone who wants money would sell and not care if it was safe. I occasionally check my spam mails folder, so I found an email with one of my passwords as subject. It totally got my attention. On reading it, it said he was able to go into my laptop by installing a malware last time I visited an adult site, and has a few videos of me that he captured from the last 15 days, including a masturbating video, which he will forward to everyone on my contacts if I don't pay him some $2,000 of Bitcoins. I was sweating for 10 minutes before I decided to check. I have a bad memory, so I save all my passwords in the browser. On checking, it was the previous password which was mentioned in the subject mail. On checking HIBP.com, I realized Yahoo server was exploited some 2 months back, and this guy might have got the password from there. Anyway, there's no point negotiating with a blackmailer. He will just send another email with more money next time, so I let it go. I never received another email like that again. Yes, this is an infamous scam email that has been around for years. I got the same thing the other day. Not really, it's just sometimes some creepy crap on the dark web forums. I've seen more disgusting things on 4chan, to be honest. Other than that, you have to be specifically searching for that crap, and even then, it's hard as F. There is no one search engine, but many, and with different results. The dark web is generally dull. Most of the sites is just for dealing drugs. Other than that, it's dull. Not to say there is not some interesting site on there. The dark web isn't that bad. It's still mostly just normal stuff and occasional criminal stuff or scams like hitmans or whatever. Murder, debauchery, torture, those things can be found on the surface web easily. LiveLeak, Reddit, and specific gore sites aren't hard to find. I never felt in danger using the darknet, but I did almost lose everything to it. I started in the Alpha Bay days, then Dream, and eventually Empire, which to my knowledge is still operating to this day. I ordered everything and anything, mainly out of curiosity. I wouldn't say I had a problem with anything in particular until the day I ordered Crystal M. Fast forward a few years later, and I was slamming it and using daily. I almost chose M over my wife and 2 beautiful boys, and no one was the wiser, besides eventually my wife. No one at work knew for the most part. I was pretty good at hiding my use, although I feel like I would have been caught eventually. 69 days sober today. I still struggle. Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.